Welcome to Pressure Points. I'm Gene Munster from Deepwater Asset Management, and our topic today is Apple's initiatives in artificial intelligence. Before we jump into the pressure point, I want to give some context related to what's in the investment community around Apple more recently. The share price has been moving up, approaching this $200 level. If you look at the performance since Apple reported their last quarter, the shares are up 12%. That's basically in line with the NASDAQ that's up 11% and a little bit better than the other 6 of the Mag 7, which are up 8% during that time. So there's been some outperformance relative to some of the other mega cap recently. I believe the reason why the shares have been moving higher is investors are better understanding what the company's guidance was 6 weeks ago for the December quarter, specifically to think about the number of weeks in the quarter, 13 versus 14. And on a like-for-like basis, the business is basically tracking up 7%, which is a positive reacceleration because it was down just about 1% in the September quarter. So I think more optimism around revenue growth, and that comes from just strength in the iPhone and also services. Separately, there's this growing expectation that margins are going to be continuing to improve. Last quarter, they hit a record at 45.2%. That was for the September quarter. If you go back and look at for fiscal 2022, it was about 43%, so a couple percent lower. And they expanded margins despite the fact that revenue was down in fiscal 23 by 3%, which is a difficult thing to do, and I think testimony to what they're doing with silicon and how that is improving margins. And so that's part of this expectation that things continue to improve. But that's the setup. Now we're going to shift to the pressure point, which is Apple and artificial intelligence. And to date, Apple has been pretty steady in their messaging around AI. They don't like to use the word. They rarely mention AI. When it does come up, they remind investors that how they've been addressing the opportunity is they're putting a lot of AI inside their products. It can be everything from facial recognition to how recommendations are with music to what they're doing on photos and organization on photos, fall detection with the watch, and everything in terms of the user interface with Vision Pro. So they're clear, the device, the experience. They want to talk about the experience and not about the kind of bits and bytes of the technology behind it. That is textbook how Apple approaches their products and their user experience. For example, the iPod was never about how many gigabytes an iPod was. It was about 1,000 songs in your pocket and really communicating products in terms of how the customer can benefit from it. And so they've done that so far when it comes to AI and talking about the benefits to the customer. But of course, the exciting part of AI has been on generative AI over the past year, and Apple hasn't said much. The topic did come up in the Q&A on their September earnings call, and Tim Cook mentioned that in terms of AI, quote, "We obviously have work going on, and you can bet we're investing quite a bit, and we're going to invest responsibly." The takeaway from that comment is that Apple is investing in this, and they want to do more when it comes to AI. Some of that's going to be with devices, but I suspect in 2024, we're going to hear more from Apple integrating generative AI into some of their offerings. The most obvious place where I think we'll see it is something related to Siri. Today, Siri is good, but I wouldn't say he is great. And ultimately, I think that there's an opportunity to build more generative AI into Siri results. That could be an opportunity to help people find things. It could be an opportunity for search like commerce, and just an opportunity where people use the product more and kind of get that flywheel of the ecosystem of Apple devices going even faster, fall more in love with Siri. Therefore, you want to keep your iPhone type of a approach. But the basic idea is I do think that they will add some generative features to Siri in 2024. I think that those features will be built off someone else's open foundation model, something like Meta's Llama. That one's kind of hard for me to see come together just given the rift between the companies. But the basic idea is foundation models are difficult to build. It's not about throwing money at it. It's about time and data. Apple has a lot of data, but these models training just take a lot of humans in the loop initially to get them off the ground. And I just don't think that they have enough progress when it comes to a foundation model to release it in 2024. So I suspect that they'll be adding features and and talking more about those, but it's not going to be based on their foundation model. And as far as the impact to Apple's business, initially, they're probably not going to make a lot of money off of this. This is going to be something where, again, it benefits the user. I could see that allowing some of the developers access to this level will create apps that are more robust, that they can charge more, that the App Store can make some more money on. But initially, I see it as more of front and center. People know that Apple's doing more in generative AI, but not as much of a moneymaker. Down the road, call it 3+ years down the road, as they advance, I can see an opportunity for them to have a pro version of Siri that could potentially help with as a personal assistant. I think that's a unique opportunity that Apple can do when it comes to AI. Book me a trip and a flight for my family to Las Vegas and just have the whole experience be taken care of. Huge opportunity for Apple. It's not going to be over the next few years, but I think we're going to start to see evidence that they're moving in that direction next year. I do believe that, as I mentioned, eventually that they do start to build their own foundation model. It may take 3 to 5 years. I do think that it's important that they have control of their own foundation model. And so it takes time, but call that a 2028 type of a time frame. So in the meantime, as we start to build in some of these generative experiences, we're also going to be hearing more, of course, about Apple and their hardware when it comes to AI and allowing their devices just to work better when AI is run on device. And Apple's done a good job of that with their own silicon, but undoubtedly we're going to hear more about that with every product that comes out, similar to what we've heard from Apple over the past year. When you put it together, Apple has been slow to acknowledge what they've been doing in AI. I think 2024 is the year where they start to show a little bit more when it comes to generative AI, specifically built into Siri, and starts to lay the groundwork for the company to embrace the opportunities to do more personalized AI longer term, a unique position that only Apple can do. Topic that is going to obviously keep our focus and attention, and so there'll be more pressure points on this event. But on behalf of Deepwater and Pressure Points, I'm Gene. Bye for now.